What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Make an Impact podcast with real stories, real people, and real impact. My name's Turnbull. I'm an entrepreneur, husband, and father on a mission to empower individuals to share their stories so they can make an impact on you. Quick shop talk episode today with my man, Mike Taft. We just talked about the journey over the almost 50 episodes of this movement of the Make an Impact podcast so far. Talked about what we've learned, what's coming for the future. We just really appreciate all your support. Let's get into today's shop talk episode. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Make an Impact podcast. Make an Impact podcast, Shop Talk. Here we are with Mr. Taft. How are you, Mike?
Doing great, Stephen. How are you?
Fantastic. We are almost 50 episodes into this journey.
50 episodes.
So here's how I want to start this Shop Talk. All right. It's just the two of us. Just for everybody that may be watching early on, or maybe this is your first episode, Mike is usually sitting directly to my left, and he's the one that always kicks me when I talk too much or say something I shouldn't say or anything along those lines. But Mike and I are partners in this journey, and it's been a journey.
It's been a wild year. This is about a year of actually doing the Make an Impact podcast.
So here's the first question I have for you.
Sure.
What has it been like for you? Because more or less you were voluntold into this whole project of Mike. Let's start this. And for those at home, Mike engineers the episode. So he sits here, makes sure everything's running good. We brainstorm the guest, all that good stuff. Much more than I do when it comes into regards to this show. But the original goal was Mike was going to sit in, and then we were going to find somebody to fill your role. I think 4 or 5 episodes in, we said, we're doing this together. We're having too much fun. Talk to me about your journey.
Well, yeah, I think the pieces you outlined, that's pretty accurate for how it happened. It was basically, hey, Mike, we need someone to edit this thing, and we also need someone to engineer this thing. Can you just get it started? And then, we'll put somebody in, and we'll just kind of ride from there. And then if you have any tips or any thoughts, share them with me. We kind of hit 1 or 2 episodes, and we didn't even have it down at that point. We were kind of just going, hey, I hope this works.
Right.
Learning things as we went. If you go back to those early episodes, sorry. But I think the thing really hit about, right around 4 or 5 episodes in, because it's a unique seat to be in the engineer's seat. You're witnessing the podcast like a real-life movie. So you see the slight body change, body language changes. You're kind of feeling the mood of how the conversation's going, whether it's up, down, oh, this just got weird, how are we going to pull it back? But you can't do anything about it. It is the weirdest thing. So I think overall what made it so fun and really pushed it over the edge to go, let's just do this together was it's something I haven't experienced. And I was like, Steve works really well, and I like doing this with him. Let's give it a run. And now we're 50 episodes later. It's been a ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I've done different recordings, even in this room, for different projects that we've done without you sitting there, and it's just a different feel. And I don't mean that about ill will about anybody else, but we just have a good synergy, and I think know how to read people, which helps the overall conversation. And I think even you've picked up afterwards, we have a debrief, if you will, after how did that go? Where could I have done better? Where could I have asked better questions? When was I able to bring it back? And I can't think of anything where our mindset on the outcome was the exact same.
I mean, that's been strange. Usually, you're going to get a little bit of conflict. Hey, I think we should go this way, no, that way. Really, each time we've realigned on goals, it's been right on line, and it's okay, who needs to do what to get it done? Mm-hmm. But I have a question for you is exactly what you brought up. How has it been different in the dynamic that you and I share as we've produced this? And it's probably helpful for someone at home going, hey, I think I could do a podcast. Who would I need as a partner to help me do it?
So I've never, I can't say I never have. I have done a podcast with when Will Bradley and I did it together with a partner, but it was, and then his wife helped. But the difference with this is we're in person. It's a recording that's not live. That was just kind of a live and put it on a Facebook. I would say the biggest difference for me has been having you as a partner to work through it, as far as what type of guests are we going to get in, how are they going to work, how are we going to edit, what's it going to look like. All of those things have kind of been a push and pull of both of us. I'll say this one thing is, for anybody watching, this is a ton of work.
It's a lot of work.
And it's not only a ton of work, so for Mike and I to physically be here as both young entrepreneurs that are growing different businesses, but the back end that you deal with, the relationship management on my side of getting people in, scheduling them, all of that. Now, I will say, I think 45-ish episodes, wherever we are in, we're finally, I think, getting the hang of how that's going to look. But one thing that I will selfishly give kudos to ourselves is we just started it and said we're doing it. And I said, hey, Mike, this is what I want to do. Bill and Matt give us this space to work with. We all built it out together, and let's just do it and see what happens. And for me, that goes back to the conversation. You're never going to be ready. Just jump and find the parachute on the way down. And, I don't think, looking back at like the first couple episodes, there's a ton of difference besides the context of the conversations and what we've learned. Like, I don't think they're like, oh, I would do that different. I think we had a very good product from the beginning, but the how has been refined.
Big time.
And I'll tell you, as I sit here and talk to you, you and I have talked of, do we slow this down to 2 a month? Do we pause it because you had a baby and I've got a 15-month-old and all? There's so many reasons. And then I'll tell you, the listener, every single time we end an episode, that high just carries it over to the next one.
So true.
And I think for me, the most rewarding thing is that we are only, and I say that capitalized, 50-ish episodes in, wherever this falls. And there's so many more conversations left to be had. And I think, to your point of someone looking to start a podcast, I've said this line for years, is everybody has a story and everybody's story deserves to be heard. And you look at the spectrum of leaders of billion-dollar companies to entrepreneurs to mothers, fathers, cool, kick-ass people in the community. We've had a good mix, and they've all been amazing conversations. And I think the make an impact theme, there's still something through that you can pull out of each one of those, which is the coolest part.
That's so true. So when we started, you having make an impact, I thought that was going to be a let's just jump in and see where it goes thing. The make an impact theme has really guided every decision. I mean, we've stuck to that goal over and over again, where we've turned things down. We've said no to things that may have led to either a little bit of money or a little bit of influence in something. Just going, no, we're here for the community. What is actually going to make someone who listens to this life better, more effective, or truly point them inward at the community and be excited to be here?
Yeah.
Like, we've stuck to that. I feel very, very good about that.
Yeah.
And a question that I've got for you, because you talked a lot about the how being refined. What are just a couple of things that you really feel like you've learned? I mean, we're a year later, but most importantly, we're 50 in-person episodes later. We've had, just like you said, a top-tier executives, top-tier change makers, small business owners, everyone. What have you learned?
You want to know what's crazy? This is going to sound crazy because I've learned a lot more than this, but it's the first thing that's coming to mind is, as a society, Michaela, pause this and fast forward because you're going to say this is me. But as a society, how hard as human beings we are on ourselves. Why do I say that? A majority of the people that come in and sit at your seat are either actively sweating or shaking underneath the table in nervousness. And you can tell, and now if you're listening to this and you're an avid watcher of the show, you can tell in the first 5-10 minutes, they forget the cameras, the lights, the microphones, and like just start being themselves and talk about the topics that mean what they mean to them and how they're making an impact and what they're doing. And it's like a release. But the learning lesson is, man, how hard we can be on each other or on ourselves, and whatever the expectation is of what we should. I shouldn't have said this. I should say that. I want to make sure this and that, versus just, I'm Mike Taft and this is who I am. And I think I've tried to lead by that. Again, Michaela's probably laughing if she's listening to this, because I'm always hard on myself. But I think interviewing almost 50 other people in this seat with this theme, with this podcast. That's been the number one thing. I think the number two thing is how many amazing conversations, people, and impacts stories there are in our community right here locally. I mean, we've talked openly, like, what's the end game for this? People ask all the time. We don't really know. We're just having fun with it and figuring it out. But, could we go broader and have out of town guests and this and that? Sure. I mean, but the incredible stories that are happening right now in this community has been really inspiring.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think too, like some of the pieces that you were talking about, right, of feeling out the guest and just where are they? Because what you might think is that, these top tier executives, they come in, they're cool as a cucumber. And then, a small business owner that's never done it, they're nervous. Do you think that's been it?
No.
Because I feel like it's all over the place.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you've seen that are maybe different with how you've done this show that kind of gets them into place well? Because you don't realize you have to manage a guest when you do an open-ended podcast. And this is fully unscripted. So how do you kind of reel the guest in from before the cameras turn on to after to managing the relationship as you go forward? Everything through that whole piece.
I'm still learning a lot of that, but I try to keep eye contact the entire time to remind them it's just a conversation that happens to be recorded, like you and I are having right now with 3 cameras around us and 2 microphones and the lights and all that. Because at the end of the day, they're good at what they're good at. They're passionate about what they're passionate at. And when they come in here, and it can be a little intimidating with our setup and the different angles and all that stuff, but just allowing them to be them. And I think saying before we start, like, if you're nervous, just remember it's a conversation. Now, I think this is a unfair thing to some of the guests, but like you said, we don't have a script. And I think that might be a little different. Now, we say, hey, Mike, I'd like you to talk about this. I'm going to try to hit this, and I'm going to try to hit this. I will say 80% of the time, none of that goes to plan. And that's not true. A script. That's more of just an expectation of, let's have a conversation. I think you provide a lot of value by talking about this event that you did, because that's going to show the type of person you are, and then we can backfill it with your business or whatever. But I always prefer just not having a script. Like, for example, these papers are literally the intro, the extra, and a reminder to take a photo at the end of the show when it's over, because that's the way I am. It has to be in front of me. But like, there's no like bullet points. I don't want it to be like I'm sitting here reading. Great answer, Mike. Next question. I think that's been different. And I just want it to like free flow, because that's, I think, the best opportunity for the viewer, the listener, to truly understand who the person is. And I think that allows the less structured vibe allows the curtain to come down a little more and just relax the conversation.
I agree with that. A thing that I didn't think would matter that much is when each guest comes in, we have the Steve intro and the Mike intro before any of the cameras turn on or anything like that, right? Steven kind of walks through, hey, is there anything that you don't feel comfortable discussing? Anything that you definitely want to hit on? What's big in your life right now? Like, what really is going to keep us aligned with the Make an Impact piece? And then there's this other piece that kind of developed, like you said, we figured out the how on the way down. I started with this thing that was like, oh, here's how you speak into the microphone. And then now that's actually expanded into a piece of, hey, keep cool. It's easy, anything's that bad, we'll just redo it. And besides that, the goal here is not to come in and just plug your business or just plug the thing that you're looking for, right? It's really to just have a conversation with Steven, because Steven is the quintessential community member. And so the person that's listening is not just going, oh, great, how can I get involved in the thing that they're doing? Like, they're listening for, why is this person here? We've had plenty of people over the decades come through Utica, and everybody's going to change Utica. And there have only been a handful of really big players.
I think that's one thing that we do different, is focus on the person, not what they do.
Yes. Oh, that's great.
And if what they do is cool and valuable, we talk about that. I can think back plenty off the top of my head. I'm not going to have the CEO of MVHS here and not talk about MVHS.
Right.
But we spent a majority of that conversation talking about who he is as a person.
And how incredible was
that?
And
how, yeah. And that way you can connect with that, which would connect you back to the organization. But I think, and again, I hate to go back to it again, but that's the unscripted part of that. It's just the free flowing conversation.
Yeah.
What keeps you showing up, Mike? I mean, I think that's a great question because, like, look, we're transparently not making money off this. We're doing this because we enjoy it. We're having fun doing it. For me, it's an excellent way to connect the community to the people that are coming in, and that's been my why through the Make an Impact thing. But like I said, I kind of pulled you in, and I haven't let you go through this whole thing. But what keeps you coming back?
You know, what keeps me coming back is that as a faith-led entrepreneur, you look for a lot of different opportunities, and you look for very, very specific types of opportunities, right? There's a million different ways to go out and make money. There's a million different ways to go out and try and make a name for yourself, and there's a million different types of things that you can try and change. But when you're a faith-led entrepreneur, you're looking for these things that matter. And this is not like, you know, a faith or a church podcast. And so why be so involved in this thing is because there are aspects of my life that I care about very much. For me, they fit under faith. But community is an enormous, essential pillar. I want to know the people in my community. Doesn't mean I have to agree with them. A lot of times, it's funny, I end up agreeing with them. Mm-hmm. But I want to know who they are. I want to see why they are who they are, what their intention in this community is.
Yeah.
And the pieces that pull me into this specifically is like, you are one of the most genuine human beings I've ever met. So that means when you're having a bad day, I know it. When you're having a good day, I know it. I've never, ever one time heard you tell a lie to anyone or to me. And I think that thing is what you may not even realize is so special about the conversations that you're able to have. Mm. And every time I tell you something like this, you're like, oh yeah, thanks. And I'm like, no, I mean, that's why it's so nice to be in the seat, because it just lets whoever is across from you with no ego on the other side of the table go, well, great. I guess if he's not going to try and, you know, be somebody he's not, then I won't either. And so I want to sit here and listen to that.
Yeah. You can tell when I have bad days. I have to do better about
occasionally.
that. Yeah, occasionally. Every once in a while.
Yeah.
I know we wanted to keep this quick, so we'll wrap it up there. But
wait, hold on. Let's do one more thing.
What's that?
I think we do a quick shooter segment. Just boom, 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 boom. On someone that's listening to this. And
this is the problem without it being scripted. Here he goes again. You already did the interview where he grilled me for 45 minutes.
This is going to be easy. This will be easy. How would someone set this up? If they were to try and come in and they're thinking, you know what, I've had this idea for a podcast forever. Mm-hmm. I have not done 50 episodes. Let's do a 3-minute quick fire round of what's the process? What are some of the core things that you'd think to do and some of the pitfalls that you're like, don't do this?
Your passion has to be behind it.
Okay.
If you're doing it to make money, don't do it. You have to be passionate about it. For me, make an impact is a core value in my life. It's a core value in the business that I'm building simultaneously. That's the why. Building community, giving people the opportunity to share their stories, highlighting people. You know, the biggest, like, coolest part about this whole journey has been like having people in and they beat themselves up about what they said or they weren't sure how they showed out on that day when we interviewed, and then the episode gets released and they reach out a day, 2 days later of like how many people have reached out to them and said it was inspiring and it did great on social and all this stuff. Like, it's about highlighting them. Whatever that is for you, whatever it is in that category. The second thing, don't bite off more than you can chew. If it wasn't for Mike Taft, none of this would be possible. And don't say, let me finish before you say that I'm wrong. The editing, I would have to do all by myself. The production, I'd have to do all by myself. I'd have to hit all the buttons around here that I don't even know how to push 50 episodes later by myself, post it by myself. We've built an engine and a team that it works. So what are you trying to do? If you're trying to do a sports only on a certain sport podcast, maybe that's a Facebook Live video that you can just do and start and whatever. If you're trying to do something more community related where you want to sit down with a person and feel the emotion across the desk of what you're talking about, that's something you got to focus. Building the process from the get-go. And I know that counterintuits what I said about jumping, but there's a mix there between making sure that you can do it, because the last thing you want to do is get steam behind this and, like I've told you before, get it started and then 5 episodes later. I think there's a statistic out there. because I also do a different insurance podcast, which is crazy. I know we talked about that a few times, but there's a statistic out there that like 90% of podcasts don't make it to episode 10.
Really?
And I have to fact check that, and I can and bring it back to the next episode. But there's something crazy that you get started or it becomes too much work, you run out of whatever it is. So I would just say, get the process set up. And the other thing is, if there's one viewer or 1,000, who cares? Because whatever your goal is, if you're bringing that person in, even selfishly, if you're having the conversation with somebody you want to, it doesn't matter how many people are watching it, how many people are subscribing it, whatever. For me, we are highlighting the people that sit down in that chair and the amazing things that we're doing. They're feeling good about it. Their circle's feeling good about it. Doesn't matter if we have 1 million views or not. So I think the core advice is, what's the why behind it? Now, I'll piggyback off of that and ask you to please subscribe to the podcast. We've had a lot of good momentum going in the last 50 episodes. If you have been on the show, your family members have been on the show, you've been watching from afar for the last 50 episodes, do us a favor, go on Instagram and YouTube, Spotify, which is the main outlets for everything. Hit the follow button because it does help us get the new content in front of you, do all of that stuff when it comes to just promoting the show, and also reach out with guest suggestions, whatever you have. I mean, we're in the process now of starting a funnel for that, because we're having more of that for people to, I don't want to say the word apply, but submit to be on the show. You know what I mean? But, just connect with us on social, and Mike and his team are doing an exceptional job. So thank you on that for everything in regards to that.
I appreciate that. And you know what? That's a good thing. I'm going to do a quick bite on this. If you're interested I'm going to redo that because that was nice, right?
Well, we don't edit here, so
we don't
not
edit, so you're going to hear this
out.
in the live version.
Yeah, that's right.
But when you see it on Instagram, it's going to be the short that works. So if you're interested in being on the Make an Impact podcast, or you know someone that you think would be a great guest, go to our website, themakeimpactpod.com. Why? Because you can nominate someone else to be a guest. We'd love to reach out. We'd love to make the connection, especially the people that are truly making an impact in this community or in the community that they live in. That's a real thing, and we'd love to see who you have to nominate.
Incredible. Everybody, that's another episode of the Make an Impact podcast. Until next time, go out there, lead with purpose, and make an impact in someone's life today, even if that's your own. My name's Stephen Turnbull. This is Michael Taft. We'll see you next week. Take care.